This is Art, Why I Stuck with a Junkie Jazz Man by Laurie Pepper, read by the author. The book begins with a quote. Do not require a description of the countries towards which you sail. The description does not describe them to you, and tomorrow you arrive there and know them by inhabiting them. Ralph Waldo Emerson, The Oversoul. Acknowledgements. I spent 10 years writing and editing this book, but it might never have been coherently completed without the encouragement, gentle chiding, and patient guidance of Audrey Bilger. She met with me regularly for 3 additional years, reading text, inspiring revisions, urging me to replace sprawl with structure and generalization with detail, and prodding me past discouragement and self-doubt. She is an angel disguised as a human. Thanks, dear Audrey. Also, love and gratitude to Dauntless Hugh Kenny, my cousins Eve Babitz and Mirandy Babitz, and to the memory of all my inspiring family of Babitzes, Abram, Lillian, Saul, and May, Thelma, that's Tybee, my amazing mother, and my father, Richard Lepan. And special thanks to Celia Mingus-Zantz, a true friend, to Terry Hinty, world-class publicist who insists on connecting me with the real world, and to the dedicated, meticulous, indefatigable, invaluable, and exasperating Rocco Bertels, who labors unceasingly for art. I dedicate this memoir with love to my daughter, Maggie Miller, and her sweet family, husband, Doug Gertner, and magnificent daughter, my granddaughter, Jordy Gertner, and to Maggie's father, Barrett Miller, a friend, after all, who has graciously permitted me to say whatever I want about him. This memoir is itself a dedication to the great Art Pepper, who gave me everything he had, his whole eternal, awesome heart. Introduction. This is a quote. I believe, first of all, that living is an act of creativity and that at certain moments of our lives, our creative imaginations are more conspicuously demanded than at others. At certain moments, the need to decide upon the story of our lives becomes particularly pressing. When we choose a mate, for example, or embark upon a career, decisions like that make sense retroactively of the past and project a meaning onto the future. Happy marriages seem to me those in which the two partners agree on the scenario they are enacting. Parallel Lives, 5 Victorian Marriages by Phyllis Rose. In Art Pepper's story, Straight Life, the endless interview that I wrote down and edited, Art cast himself as a lost, desperate genius, and me at the end as his angel of rescue. During our marriage, we worked successfully together to enact that story. But I was no angel, and we rescued each other. This is my story. First chapter, Suicide. August 1968. Failure. I closed the doors and windows, turned off all the pilots, and turned on the gas in the open oven and in a little standing heater. I put Bob Dylan's album Blonde on Blonde on the automatic record player. I found 2 Valium a thieving friend had somehow missed, and I took them, hoping they would make me sleep. I lay down on the couch in my little cottage in L.A., untroubled for the first time in ages by wild imaginings, despair, or guilt, or by what seemed to me at that moment to be terminal loneliness. I didn't think about what my decision would do to my family or my 4-year-old daughter, who was temporarily living with my ex. I'd gotten sick of myself and figured they had too. I was 27. A week earlier, I'd gone to Schwab's drugstore on Sunset, hoping to run into someone I knew, someone who'd buy me breakfast. I ran into an equally impoverished friend instead. He was suddenly homeless and he had pneumonia. He asked me if he could crash on my couch, so I took him home and made him chicken soup. He stayed a couple days and then he robbed me, stealing my rent money from my purse and all the drugs from my medicine cabinet. This betrayal was too much for me. Not long before, a dexedrine-fueled temper tantrum had lost me my day job. And then one night, high on hash and opium, I'd crashed my newish Peugeot into a parked tow truck and the car it was towing. My license was in danger of suspension. Since age 9, I'd suffered from brainstorms and depressions on and off. I believe that it's genetic. My father and each of his 4 sisters, one a successful suicide, had to be put away at one time or another because they couldn't cope. I'd been pressing my luck. The rampage I'd been on, and now this final thing of turning on the gas, sprang, I think, from my inherent vulnerability mixed with uppers, downers, pot, and wine. I was desperate to get out, but I've also always been impatient, and dying took so long. It seemed to me I heard Visions of Johanna 100 times as I lay there on my couch, gazing out the window at yellow roses bobbing up against the neighbor's wooden fence. The summer sun rolled across the sky. The gas hissed from the jets. Eventually, I lay down on the floor next to the heater and breathed it deeply in. I didn't even get drowsy. But after a few hours, I got awfully bored. I had just enough change left in my rifled purse to buy a little bottle of Chablis, so I trotted to Captain Cork in my mauve snakeskin heels. It was a balmy, fragrant evening. LA's summer jasmine in the air. I still remember noticing on the way to the liquor store the small decorative trees planted at intervals along the curb, their narrow, sharp green leaves and their pretty pink blossoms. I was happy at that moment, jubilant. September 1968, the reading. A friend had recommended a psychic, an old man who owned a motel in San Bernardino. He did 5-minute readings and charged $5 for them. I made an appointment and drove out there. I parked my smashed Peugeot a block away because I didn't want to give him any clues to my circumstances. I walked into the open doorway of a dark, cozy motel apartment filled with heavy furniture and hung about with souvenirs of redwood country and photos of 2 young men, one with his arm around an older woman. I decided that the man I was visiting was one of the 2 fellows and that they'd been lovers. The woman, I guessed, was his mother. The gray-haired psychic poked his head out of another room and told me to wait. As he escorted his departing clients to the front door, one of them said something like, "Oh, and Alice said to tell you that it was benign." I entered the consulting room, a tiny yellow-tiled kitchen with a card table and 2 folding chairs. The psychic asked me to place my hands in his and tell him the date of my birth. I did. He got up, went into a room across the hall where I could see him standing at a drafting table, looking at a giant chart. He returned, sat down, sighed, and said, "You have to stop driving." "I live in Los Angeles. I can't stop driving." "You're in legal difficulties about your car." And driving right now could be very dangerous for you. You have to stop. This was decades before Google. How could he have known this? And why investigate anyway for $5? He went on. You've had a rough year, but in 3 months, things are going to improve. Your life will be completely changed. I see you in a school. It might be in Hawaii. It's a private school. It's not a Catholic school. I'm not sure what it is. Am I a student or a teacher? You will be teaching and learning. Within 3 months, I was living in Synanon. I was working in their school, the motto of which was teaching and learning. Their main building was in an old luxury hotel on the Santa Monica beach, the sea and palm trees shining through the windows, like Hawaii. Will I marry again? I was so lonely. Your last husband was a Pisces. Yes, he was. And he was very bad for you. You will marry again, but not for 5 or 6 years. That will be a very successful marriage. And then you'll marry again. That marriage will also be very successful. But if the next marriage is so successful, that one's gonna die on you. I never told Art he was gonna die on me. It was he, gloomily, constantly, who assured me that he would.